EmP fall to the ground. Who is going to be victorious? Of course, this is in the winner's bracket, so either of these teams lose. They do have an opportunity.
For error, yeah.
Exactly. They do have the opportunity to drop down into the losers bracket, and will potentially meet each other again in the later matches. But that remains to be seen. So this is not an elimination round, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, I am on the EmP side. We have Alpha Lances on both sides. EmP bringing two summoners, Mistlinks actually, Huntsman, and Marauder 2C. We're going to see a little bit of trades right away, summoner to summoner. I'm like getting a little burn on him. So Radic in the Hunchback, trading some ER larges. We got some PPCs going back and forth. Heimdallite and
running a Grasshopper as well in this Alpha Lance. Grasshopper, Night Gear, and 2 Supernovas in the Alpha Lance for Osiris here.
So far, in terms of the damage, it's a pretty even damage spread against Osiris, but Heimdallite's dropped down to 91%. He took a lot of burns from those ER larges. That damage adds up pretty quick. A pretty aggressive power position strat here by Osiris, essentially moving off to this left side and just putting all their shots wherever they can. Looks like that strike just fell short. A good dodge there. Kippers and that Grasshopper putting his ER larges downfield against Radic. Just a little bit of scratch so far. That's an interesting change.
Kippers has been a dominant player in the Summoner, the two PPC Summoner. See how he does in the Grasshopper here.
Osiris has gotten an early cap against Theta. They're sending Dogmeat off to Kappa. Ghost is with him as well. Those Wolfhounds, very strong light mechs. No jump jets, though. But a big trade game going on back and forth. They've got somebody up where Airlock likes to hang out. Solitude in a summoner up on this spire over here. Getting some good angles in, but getting a little burn in himself. As we were talking about last time we saw Osiris on this map, the PPC's great front-loaded damage. Oh, this could be... There was a good strike, but here comes another strike coming in right now. Oh, hitting Reckless in that Supernova, down to 58%. That was a pretty savage hit. Those PPCs, though, do quite a bit of damage early on, and then, but if you miss, you do 0. The ER larges, the longer the battle goes, that scratch adds up. You might not get a full burn on people, but that scratch definitely adds up. Aurora and Nova were able to go flip Theta back in their favor. Wildfire unable to lock it down. Tried to with a strike, but they got in and got out. So 2-1 cap advantage in favor of Imperial. They could potentially get Epsilon, but Epsilon's actually being overwatched by Solitude.
Being watched, yeah.
So
this is interesting. Salith is running a Huntsman that's packing SRMs on it, but also has ER larges.
I noticed Airlock's actually in a Night Gear now. He's not in a Summoner like we're used to seeing.
I'm sorry, that's not even SRMs. He's got streaks on this Huntsman, plus 2 ER larges. It's an interesting build. He's going to make a jump on Dogmeat at Theta. If he can just hold the lock.
Oh boy, those Wolfhounds are about to get jumped. There's Zelith with those streaks on Dogmeat. Dogmeat is going to be in dire straits here. He's got to whip around the corner, but he is getting run on by Nova. Heimdallite gets a kill on Ghost, and Dogmeat is about to go down.
Dogmeat's legged.
That was a pretty
crucial jump they just got.
Pretty big jump right there. Both light mechs have gone down for Osiris. Pretty much that means Osiris is going to have... Oh, what a nasty strike. Right on those Supernovas. Heimdallite takes out Wildfire in the Hunchback 2CB, so that was their streak mech, I believe. So that means Osiris is gonna... Oh my goodness! The strikes are just real right now. Osiris is falling apart, and this is gonna go quickly in favor of Imperial here. And another strike on Cafe, just insult to injury. Losing those lights was huge, but it was an excellent maneuver there.
I think they were losing the trades to begin with there. Losing the lights was the final nail in the coffin.
Wolverine goes down. 2 mechs remaining, Airlock and Kippers, but they're not going to be able to pull this one off. There's just too many fresh mechs alive yet. But oh man, more strikes coming in. Airlock just getting wailed on right now.
Resource point Theta is ours.
And Kippers now has the Huntsman and Mistlinks Arctic Cheetah on him.
And that is all she wrote. An 8-0 decision in favor of Imperial. and Osiris just did not stand a chance. Compared to our last meeting with EmP against Phoenix Legion, they definitely brought their A game on this one and just put Osiris down pretty much like we're used to seeing out of EmP. That was just a very clean trade and very epic strikes, and then on top of that, an excellent gank by their lights just to completely bring it to Osiris and put them down very quickly. 662 coming out of Twinkie Overlord in that Marauder 2C. 539 out of Radic in that Hunchback 2C. He was in Alpha Lance and pretty much shooting non-stop from the beginning of the match to the end of the match. But 3 kills coming out of Heim Delight in that Summoner. 489 out of Solitude in the Summoner. Just everybody just pulling their weight really well. The lowest Aurora in the Arctic Cheetah, but I mean, everybody did some fantastic work.
Compared to the damage output by Osiris there, that's the EmP we're used to seeing right there. Part of me wonders, though, about the drop deck changes. I mean, that's an unusual drop deck based off what Osiris did earlier in the semifinals. You know, like we said, Kippers was doing a fantastic job. It was Kippers and Airlock, right, in the Summoners?
Yeah.
And they were, I mean, they were averaging like 750 damage around in those Summoners, and now they're in a Grasshopper? I'm not sure the Grasshopper is the right choice for that.
And then they had the Night Gear for Airlock. I mean, he did so well with the Summoner that I think the Night Gear had, what, ER Larges and Gauss or something like that?
ER Large and Gauss, but that's not a great combo.
Well, I mean, I think that's the standard Night Gear build that we're seeing right now. But
it definitely is the standard Night Gear build, but I think the Night Gear as a whole has fallen out of its first place heavy ranking in favor of that Summoner.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that Airlock did so well in that Summoner that changing him out into the Night Gear, maybe they thought he could do even better, but bottom line, with pinpoint front-loaded damage, he puts those shots on target so well that then kind of gimping him by putting him in a hit scan laser mech, I don't know. We'll have to see. They probably had a reason for it, or maybe they had something they wanted to do. Not sure why everybody just left the lobby, but all right. You know, maybe they had something that they wanted to accomplish. I don't know, but unfortunately for Osiris, it just did not work out. They got mauled on the trades and pretty much just outplayed on the late game. They had both of their guys sitting Theta, but it didn't take much for EmP to essentially just kind of run up over the top with that Huntsman and just drop the hammer on him.
And having that Huntsman there to support really changes, I think, a lot of the dynamic that they had. I think they were hoping for more of a 2-on-2 light fight, and instead, you know, the Streak Boat comes in, and it's a world of trouble.
Absolutely. All right, taking a look here at the map, just to kind of draw out what we saw there. Alpha Lance was, you know, Alpha to Alpha's a big start here. So they had some initial trades then from Alpha. They kind of came up here. They had some guys sit back here, but ultimately one of their summoners went up to the C4 area. But really kind of a heavy left swing by Osiris, trying to do the power position, similar to what we saw with JGX, where they all stayed together. They didn't necessarily use cover, but they attempted to play whack-a-mole. I don't know if you can effectively play whack-a-mole against Imperial, though. They play so tight to their cover that
they play tight to their cover, and they spread out so much. That,
they do.
You know,
that just even the torso twist
at 3 angles.
Yeah, even just the necessary torso twist to be able to shoot at the next guy that pokes up. It delays your shot that long that they can put their shots downfield and then duck back, and you know, maybe one guy will get his hit in, but you're not getting 5 or 6 mechs worth of damage every time somebody peeks. When you play whack-a-mole, essentially that's what you're trying to do, is every time somebody peeks, you got 6 guys shooting them in the face. We're not seeing that here. EmP plays so tight, and they're so spread that not using cover in this instance just was not working for them. I mean, it works good in theory, and we've seen it work good in the past, but just in this specific instance, it fell apart really quick. So then all EmP had to do is continuously pop out, take their shot, duck back, and just wail on those mechs that were pretty much out in the open. And do that long enough, and Osiris just starts bleeding armor at an alarming rate. But really, then nail on the coffin, you've got your light mechs, the 2 Wolfhounds sitting on Theta. They have their streak Hunchback sitting back, waiting for a potential light fight. And it came, but it came leading off with a Huntsman and the
packing
Mistlinks
streaks.
just
And
basically
you gotta wonder
plowing
if
in, and then another one comes up on stage with Heimdallite.
Salith was sitting up on stage on one of the spires in that Huntsman, and he's shooting ER larges. You have to wonder if on the Osiris side, the drop commander is hearing, here's a Huntsman up there. They're thinking, well, that could be a streak Huntsman. And then they see ER large fire coming, shooting across the map. And if they assume that that's not it's a long range Huntsman build, and instead it's a mixed range, which I know everyone says avoid that, especially in quick play. Please avoid it. But in competitive play, in the right scenario with the right mindset, you can see it be very effective, and that's what Salith did there. And you got to wonder, like I said, if Osiris isn't expecting to see streaks coming out of something that they saw ER larges coming out earlier.
Hard to say. I mean, did their lights get picked because that happened? I mean, that they just didn't know there were streaks? Or, I mean, really, the terrain that they came in on... Oh, poor Polar. We were so close.
I know. I was hoping for it. It was taking a while.
Canyon Network is going to be where we're taking Drop 2. But... they could have known there were streaks, but bottom line, the terrain over Theta, it just allows them to close the distance undercover very well to the point where they're on top of you. As soon as he breached over the top with those streaks, it was over. Those Wolfhounds were not getting away. They can't run fast enough to get out of there. It's not like they're a Locust, but even still, a Locust would have probably just been one shot by the streaks. But, those Wolfhounds, just seeing them scatter, it was done before the first shot even went off, honestly.
Yeah.
And then... surprisingly, the guy the streaks were hitting almost got around the corner, but the other light mech got pegged by Heimdallite for the kill, who was in one of the summoners. So he came up over stage, I think. I think he was over stage and secured that other light kill.
He was.
So it was like bang, bang, both lights instantly down. Osiris probably knew at that point there's no coming back from that. So we'll have to see then. They're switching sides, but they're also switching maps. Osiris now Team 1 on Canyon Network, Imperial on Team 2. We'll have to see. Change a map, change a game plan. Maybe the trades weren't working on that one, so a different scenery. We'll have to see how it plays out. What do you think we're going to see on this one?
I would expect to see Osiris use their cover a little bit more. Canyon Network is more conducive to spreading out and trading rather than, I think, moving power positions, just with the lack of, flat open space on the map, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think either of these teams are necessarily aggressive push teams. So I think we're going to see trading. I'd really like to see Osiris kind of go back to what they were doing earlier and put Kippers, put Airlock in those summoners and see what they can do. They were playing so well that last match kind of, deck-wise surprised me. On the other hand, EmP, we know how they play Canyon, right? They're going to play it just like they played Tourmaline. They're going to go range. They're going to spread out all over the map. They're going to have guys, in 3/4 of the map spread out, and they're going to just try and take away all your angles and wear you down until you have nowhere to go but drop down. And as soon as you drop down, they're going to move up and just like shooting fish in a barrel.
Absolutely. I mean, what we've seen out of Imperial in the past is they don't necessarily run a strat as much as they each know their optimal positions and they know where they have to fall back to in certain situations. They play positions that are optimal for their mech and their build, and they've drilled it so many times that they know it. They could do it in their sleep, essentially. And the way that these strats are, or their layouts are set up is that they can respond to any situation. You brawl rush, they can respond. They know instantly when somebody says brawl, they instantly all jump into action to get into their new positions to be able to receive the brawl. If they see ranged mechs on one side or the other, or some sort of push or anything like that, light play on one area or another, they know where to go, and they've done it so often that they can do it just instinctively. And that like perfect setup that they had in 2016 was impenetrable. Nobody could figure out a way to counter the way that they were laid out. is that still going to work here? I mean, a year has passed. Meta has changed slightly. New mechs, old mechs have gone in and out of favor. Ranges on weapons have changed. New weapons have been added. New engines have been added. You know, there's a lot of variables here. Is EMP still going to be able to find those perfect optimal scenarios here, or is there going to maybe be a hole in the strategy that Osiris can exploit? It's hard to say, but...
And I think Osiris has to know what's coming here. Like you said, we saw EMP basically throughout the duration of the 2016 championship, from start to finish, run basically the same strat on this map, spread out, take away those angles. I really think that EMP does a lot more just passing information than necessarily drop calling, like you said. They're just giving each other information. They know what to do. This is the map that they are the most familiar with. And you got to wonder, does Osiris have a counter to it? They picked this map. They had the option. So maybe they've thought up of something that'll work against them.
Yeah, and bottom line, it's going to require perfection out of Osiris. It could potentially involve a mistake being made by Imperial, but how many times have you seen an Imperial player make a severe mistake in a competitive match?
It's pretty rare.
If it's happened at all, it's definitely rare. These guys practice all the time. They've absorbed quite a bit of talent in the community. They've got pretty much all the best players that you could possibly have. So if Osiris is going to stand up to these guys, it is going to require perfection out of their guys. And it's a tall order, but it's not impossible. It is not impossible. All right. Both teams are ready. Here we go. Nova in the Mistlinks yet again. Back by Sigma. He'll probably go for that early cap. We got Proton in a Warhawk with Twinkie in a Mad 2C, Solitude in a Night Gear, and then Radic backing up, most likely with those ER large lasers, back to Junkyard. What do you got on the Osiris side? Look at the spread already. From
2 Supernovas, Hunchback 2C. They have a Firestarter S. It's Dogmeat in the Firestarter. Another Hunchback 2C, Summoner, Wolfhound, and Summoner. So they put Airlock and Kippers back into those Summoners. I'd be very interested to see how they handle this now.
A lot of scouting going on. We're seeing Selith jumping high into the air in his Huntsman, just taking a look around, surveying the battlefield. He's got those streaks. He's overpaired with Arara on the Kappa side. Now, interesting note here, we've got 4 mechs here. The Hunchbacks, the Firestarter, and the Wolfhound just idly waiting by Kappa. I think they're waiting maybe for Imperial to shift or begin capping. If they begin capping, we might see a gank. It'll be a 4v3 situation over Kappa. We'll have to see how this plays out.
And looks like they are moving towards...
This is going to be interesting
Kappa.
right here. They're gonna bring it hard. As soon as that starts flashing, they're gonna hit it. But Nova is actually bypassing the point, and we've got some early burn-in. Arara going far out to the outside, able to get a vision on him. Those light mechs now are bailing out
and here comes
Mistlinks.
Selith with the streaks.
The Mistlinks
Those
is just too
to
far out. Ghost is using cover fairly well, but they didn't get the gank they came for, and now Heimdallite joining the fight as well.
Yep, joining up.
Selith getting hit down to 71%. They are avoiding streak fire by basically positioning themselves on the point in a way that the streaks would hit the point instead of the mech. But in terms of damage output here, not looking too good for Osiris. Just a heads-up play by Arara. He was working that outside the entire time and was able to just barely see his opponent on the corner. Whoever was standing up in front
Soviet
gave it
Armada
away.
and the Hunchback 2C goes down.
Oh, a big strike right across Ghost. He gets brought down
And
by
Ghost goes
Selith.
down. That did not work.
This is turning into a brawl at this point, but Dogmeat, oh man, a brutal strike right on Dogmeat as well.
Dogmeat's all on his own too.
So he's just getting shredded, not looking good for Osiris. Is a bold maneuver, but whoever was standing up in front basically gave that one away. They must have had a hint or something that these guys were going to work this left corner because, you know, Arara working the outside, and then the Mistlinks bypassing the point, basically running right up to it. They had a feeling that somebody might have been playing right up on that corner, and sure enough, Arara able to get an angle and a burn in from that far outside, gave it away, forced Osiris to basically call the ball and make their push. but
And
didn't
while
get
that's
anybody caught
happening,
out.
the other half of Imperial, the assaults and heavies, are just rolling down the Epsilon line. They've already taken out Reckless and the Supernova, and this is long over.
So Osiris just getting annihilated in this one. This is going to be a very quick 2-0 decision. Looks like Kippers was able to, in his summoner, bring down one mech. Selith in the Huntsman goes down. But all we've got left now is Kippers in that summoner at Radio Tower. And he is not long for this world. But this is not an elimination round. Osiris is not out of this yet. But a 8-1 victory for Imperial. Very clean victory. And it all started with a very bold strategy on that Kappa side, but fell apart when Aurora got good.
Play by EmP.
Very cautious. Aurora basically catching him on the outside, taking vision of him, and then they felt like they had to push into it. But that Mislinks was running right up to him. I mean, if whoever that lead mech was 2 steps to the right, he wouldn't have gotten seen. The Mislinks probably would have come right over the top of him, and maybe they would have been able to get a gap,
ganked,
a gank. But it happened in such a way that Mislinks turned tail, baited him right into their Huntsman, and then it all fell apart from there. Very strong showing by EmP, though. This is what we're used to saying. And Osiris, they did some damage, not a lot, but some of their mechs, like the Supernova and Summoner, they put out some numbers. But they're going to have to go back to the drawing board if they hope to stay alive in this tournament. This is not an elimination round, so Osiris is going to drop down to the losers bracket, and Imperial will move on. So EmP is going to be up into match 19, and they will play the winner of Eon Synergy versus 228 Blackwatch, which I believe is the next match coming up here. It is. So we're going to see Eon versus 228 Blackwatch. The winner of that's going to play EmP. And Osiris then is going to drop down, and they are going to play RJFS. And the loser of match 13, Eon Synergy versus 228, is going to drop down to play SJR. So definitely some exciting matches on the horizon here. But man, that was a.
If anyone was wondering after last weekend against Phoenix Legion if EmP was still the same EmP, I think you can say, yeah, they're still the same EmP.
They're still the CMP. Yeah, this is what we're used to seeing from these guys. No surprise there whatsoever. Just a really, really strong showing. And I don't know. Let's go to the map real quick. Just try and draw out here kind of what was going on.
You got to wonder if EmP's been watching a lot of these matches. Kappa's gotten, over the semifinals, a lot of play. A lot of people going to Kappa with some mechs, trying to take away angles and things.
And it's usually kind of a light-only zone near Kappa.
Yeah.
And it definitely was their lighter set of mechs, but you know, they set up their big boys out on the right, but maybe it's just the fact that those 4 mechs were not visible on the field. They weren't trading. They weren't poking. Nothing was going on. They had those guys set up on the blue line on the left. But Aurora, who normally we see Aurora kind of set up here at C3 and just take some vision, he actually opted this time to just swing way wide. He's changed up something in his repertoire where he's worked the outer boundary, actually going out of bounds, and he was able to get a burn in underneath the bridge and see that target right there. I mean, if he took a few more steps, he probably would have seen them anyways, but bottom line, that lead mech there gave it away just early enough because the Mislinks, not stepping on Kappa, just tiptoed around it, got up to this point right here. That's when Aurora saw it, and then, of course, they felt obligated to come streaking around, but he turned tail and got out real quick, and then they had their Huntsman up on the hill here, able to put some fire down.
Jaime was trading from right here, and he was able to just cross right on over.
Very quick response to turn that into a 4-4 situation, but those streaks coming in right off the bat against the Wolfhound and the Firestarter, they were playing that pretty smart, just essentially setting themselves up behind the Kappa point so those streaks would hit the building instead of them, but every single time somebody made a good play by hiding behind Kappa and using it to their advantage, somebody else was basically running along the outer edge or exposing themselves, and so that Huntsman never stopped firing. He never had to stop firing. He switched targets a few times, but he never had to stop firing. And so he was putting out his numbers, and then quickly, with, of course, Heimdallite joining the fray there, things went quickly in EMP's favor. And and that it didn't take long at all. And, of course, the big boys basically left on their own devices, got some damage downfield, but generally just did not trade well against the assaults from EMP. And so that was all she wrote there for Osiris.
Yeah, I just watched it happen again on the 5-minute delay on the stream. You're absolutely right that playing wide at Kappa, Ghost was a little too far forward. Gave that whole thing away, unfortunately.
It could have been just a matter of seconds. Now, if he was a little bit further back, and if Aurora didn't see him, would the Mistlinks have gone up top, maybe launched a UAV, took a look over the side? Would it have been enough for them to get the gank on him even? Because even if he saw them and then turned and ran, EMP would have had the same response to their presence, and I think
the other thing you've got to wonder is EMP can tell, or at least they should be able to tell, right, that there are only 4 mechs trading.
Yeah.
8 mechs on the field. They can see a summoner, a supernova, and a supernova. They know that the 2 light mechs and the 2 mediums are somewhere where they haven't found them yet.
Yep.
That narrows it down, and it makes them be that much more cautious in their engagement.
Exactly, especially not seeing like an opposing hunchback or something trading into them.
Yeah.
They had to have a hint. And so the whole time they were down there too, that's 5 mechs trading into 4, which also gives EMP an advantage. So it was a brave strategy by Osiris, but it didn't quite work. I don't know if they executed it perfectly, if it would have worked, because EMP just was so cautious going into that if they just willy-nilly went and capped Kappa, maybe it would have worked against them. But they were prepared, once again, prepared for anything, and they were prepared to see that happen. And who knows? I mean, they knew how to respond. But
yeah, that was. It's hard to do sneaky things against EMP. They communicate well. Every guy is spread out across the map, so that there's not really anywhere you can kind of hide from them.
Yep. So, just a reminder, anybody who's spoken chat,